Alright, we're recording, so start whenever you want.
Hi, welcome to BuffZone. I'm Kyle Ringo. This is Brian Howell. We're standing in a football football stadium, but it's actually basketball season. And the Buffs tip off Friday night against Baylor in Dallas. Brian, you'll be there. What are your expectations for that game and the season?
I think it's a great game to start things off. It's one of the best season opening games CU's had probably throughout their history. I think for this young team, it's a very good game to start them off against a number 25 team in the country, a team that's got just as many expectations as CU does. They can't coast in the opening game, and I think that's going to help them be motivated and come out, hopefully playing well in that opening game.
Yeah, the thing is, Baylor, at least in recent years, has become a little bit more used to these kind of expectations to start a season with. Obviously not everybody on that Baylor roster has experienced that, but
right.
There are guys who have, and Colorado really hasn't started a season with these kind of expectations.
Right.
I mean, there are some people who rank them as a top 25 team already, and others who don't and want to see the Buffs sort of prove it. And so this is obviously their first chance to prove that they belong in that mix and that they are a program that has risen to a top 25 level. And if you go out and you beat Baylor to start the season, I think maybe they will be in the polls shortly after that. But it's definitely a huge game to start off with and an interesting way to start the season.
It definitely is. I mean, like you said, if you get this one, that's huge. I mean, it's a neutral court, but it's essentially going to be a Baylor crowd playing in Dallas, and so you get that one. They're the marquee game on that that triple header weekend in Dallas, and that's a big one for them. And I think this is their first test to go out and prove themselves, but they've got a lot of chances to do that in November. I believe 8 games in November, including, believe it or not, they've got 4 games, including 3 home games before the football team plays at home again. So including against Wyoming next week, a team that Tad Boyle's never beaten. So it's going to be an interesting first week for the Buffs. A lot of good tests, and there's definitely not a whole lot of easy nights for this team, and it starts early.
So there's some young players, a slew of young players on this roster. Mm-hmm. What to you is sort of the key in maybe the first month of the season to getting off to the kind of start that's going to help them maybe make an NCAA tournament?
I think the defense is definitely the key. Tad Boyle preaches defense, and they've been working a lot on it. Andre Roberson, I think everybody talks about his rebounding. I think they're really going to miss his defense perhaps even more. So getting those guys to play defense and buy into that, and especially the freshmen. It's hard to get freshmen sometimes to really buy into it, but they're going to need those freshmen to buy into it. And especially with the new rule changes, it's going to be interesting to see how defense is played in college basketball and how Tad adjusts to that. But I think defense is the key. They've got to play good defense with the schedule.
All right, well, we'll be back next week to talk a little bit more about it once we have a few games under the belt and we get to see how the team seems to be starting the season.
Sounds good.